Dios que hay.
You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Matthew 24:6. For centuries, prophets have warned of a coming storm, a day of reckoning when God's judgment would fall upon a nation that had turned its back on him. Some believe these prophecies are mere fables, relics of a bygone era. But what if the signs are all around us? What if the storm is already here? From the pages of the Bible to the words of our spiritual forefathers, a chilling pattern emerges. A pattern of nations that rose to great heights, only to fall into ruin when they forsook God's righteous laws. Can you count how many times God's word has told us, "Do not fear"? But it's a bunch, and it still applies. Wars, rumors of wars, coronavirus, economic woes, political uncertainty. All these things scream at us to act out of fear. Today, we embark on a journey into the prophetic word, to uncover the chilling truth about a prophecy for America that many fear is already unfolding before our eyes. The prophecy for America that everyone fears may come to pass is already beginning. The United States, long considered the beacon of freedom and a global superpower, is now facing challenges that threaten its very foundation. As the world watches in anticipation and fear, many wonder, is this the beginning of the end for America? What do the ancient prophecies say about the future of this nation? And more importantly, are we already seeing the first signs of their fulfillment? Recent events have only heightened these concerns. The attempted attack on former President Donald Trump, the intense polarization within the country, and the looming presidential elections have placed America in a precarious position. The entire world is focused on what will happen next, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But while political analysts and commentators speculate on the possible outcomes, there's a growing belief that these events may be part of something much larger, a divine prophecy that has been foretold for centuries. America, a superpower. To fully grasp the gravity of the prophecy that so many fear is now unfolding, it's essential to understand how the United States came to be the global superpower it is today, or perhaps more accurately, how it was until recently. The story of America's rise is one of triumph, innovation, and unparalleled influence on the world stage. Yet, this story also carries within it the seeds of the potential downfall that some believe is now imminent. The United States emerged from World War II not just as a victor, but as a nation transformed. The war had devastated much of Europe and Asia, leaving the United States in a unique position of strength. With its industrial base intact and its military power unmatched, America quickly assumed a leadership role in the post-war world. The use of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki marked not only the end of the war, but also the beginning of a new era, one in which the United States would hold unparalleled sway over global affairs. In the decades that followed, the United States solidified its status as the dominant world power. The Marshall Plan helped rebuild Europe, while institutions like the United Nations and NATO established America at the center of a new world order. Economically, the U.S. experienced a period of unprecedented growth, becoming the world's largest economy and setting the standard for capitalism. Culturally, American ideals of freedom, democracy, and individualism were exported worldwide, shaping the aspirations of millions. In this context, America's decline could be seen as part of a divine plan, a necessary step in the unfolding of end-time events. The shift of power from the West to other parts of the world, particularly the Middle East, is seen by some as evidence that the prophecies are being fulfilled. The growing instability in America, whether it be political, economic, or social, could be interpreted as a sign that the nation's time as the world's leading power is coming to an end. But this interpretation is not without controversy. Many argue that America's decline is not inevitable and that the nation still has the capacity to renew itself. They point to the resilience of American institutions, the innovation of its people, and the enduring appeal of its ideals. For them, the prophecy is not a foregone conclusion, but a warning, a call to action to address the challenges the nation faces before it's too late. Yet, as we look at the current state of the world, It's hard to ignore the parallels between what the Bible predicts and what is happening today. The decline of American power, the rise of new global players, and the increasing focus on the Middle East all seem to fit within the prophetic framework. Whether one believes in the literal fulfillment of these prophecies or not, the fact remains that the world is changing, and America's role in it is changing as well. As we will delve deeper into the prophecy itself, examining its origins, its interpretations, and what it might mean for the future of the United States, we'll explore the specific predictions that have led many to believe that America's decline is not just a possibility, but a certainty. And we'll discuss the events that could either hasten or delay the fulfillment of this prophecy, providing a roadmap for what may lie ahead. The growing unease surrounding America's future isn't just about political shifts. It's about something far deeper, something that resonates with both believers and skeptics alike. The attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump on July the 13th sent shockwaves across the globe, stirring fears and raising questions about what might happen next. This wasn't just an isolated incident. It felt like a spark igniting a powder keg of anxiety and speculation. The political climate in the United States has been increasingly turbulent, and the upcoming presidential elections have only added fuel to the fire. With President Biden opting not to run for re-election, the stage is set for a potential return of Donald Trump to power. But what does this mean for America and its place in the world? Will Trump's return signal a restoration of American strength, or could it lead to even greater division and decline? For many, this moment in history feels like a tipping point. The United States, once seen as the unchallenged leader of the free world, now faces a series of unprecedented challenges. From internal strife to external threats, the nation's future seems more uncertain than ever. And this uncertainty isn't just limited to political pundits and analysts. It's something that even non-Christian observers are beginning to acknowledge. They see the parallels between current events and ancient prophecies, and they can't help but wonder if we're witnessing the early stages of something monumental. These concerns are not without basis. Over the past few years, we've seen a series of events that have shaken the foundation of American society. The polarization of the electorate, the erosion of trust in institutions, and the rise of extremist ideologies have all contributed to a growing sense of unease. The attempted attack on Trump is just the latest in a series of incidents that have brought these underlying tensions to the surface. But why is this particular moment so significant? Why are people around the world, from different walks of life, suddenly paying attention to what was once considered fringe speculation? The answer lies in the convergence of political and spiritual narratives. On the one hand, you have the tangible, real-world events, like the presidential elections and the assassination attempt, that dominate the news cycle. On the other hand, there's a growing belief that these events are interconnected with something far more profound, a prophecy that has been foretold for centuries. This prophecy, which we'll explore in greater detail later in the video, speaks of a time when America would face a critical crossroads, a time when the nation's very identity would be challenged, and its role in the world would be called into question. For those who believe in this prophecy, the signs are all around us. The decline in moral and spiritual values, the rise of secularism, and the increasing division within society are all seen as harbingers of what is to come. Even those who don't subscribe to these beliefs are beginning to take notice. They see the growing instability and wonder if there's more to it than just politics as usual. Could it be that the fears many have about America's future are not just speculative, but are in fact rooted in something much deeper? Could the events we're witnessing be the beginning of the fulfillment of a prophecy that has been feared for generations? As we continue, we'll delve into the specific elements of this prophecy and what it means for the United States. We'll examine how the current political situation, particularly the upcoming elections, could play a pivotal role in either accelerating or delaying the fulfillment of this prophecy. We'll also explore the spiritual implications of these events and why so many people, both believers and non-believers, are starting to feel a sense of impending doom. The fears surrounding America's future are not just about the potential return of Donald Trump or the outcome of the next election. They are about a much larger narrative that has been unfolding for years, one that suggests we may be on the brink of a significant transformation. Whether this transformation will be for better or worse remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher. So, what will happen to America? The prophecy that has cast a shadow over the future of America is not one that can be easily dismissed. Rooted in biblical texts and interpreted by scholars of eschatology, this prophecy suggests that the United States is on the brink of a significant transformation, one that could lead to its decline as a global power. But what exactly does this prophecy entail, and why is it causing so much fear and speculation? To understand the prophecy, we must first look to the Bible, specifically the books of Ezekiel, Daniel, and Revelation. These texts, written thousands of years ago, contain visions and predictions that many believe are relevant to the events unfolding today. While interpretations of these prophecies vary, a common thread among them is the idea of a great power rising and falling as part of God's divine plan for the end times. One of the key prophecies often cited in discussions about America's future is found in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 2, the prophet interprets a dream of King Nebuchadnezzar, in which the king sees a great statue made of different materials: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. Each part of the statue represents a different kingdom, and according to the prophecy, these kingdoms will rise and fall until a final kingdom, represented by a stone that destroys the statue, is established by God. Some scholars believe that the United States is represented by one of these kingdoms, possibly the legs of iron mixed with clay, which symbolizes a divided and weakened empire. This interpretation suggests that America's current struggles, its internal divisions, economic difficulties, and loss of global influence, are signs that it is nearing the end of its time as a dominant power. The prophecy implies that America's fall is inevitable, paving the way for the rise of a new world order. Another significant prophecy related to America can be found in the book of Revelation. Revelation 13 describes the rise of a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads, which is often interpreted as a symbol of a powerful, authoritarian regime that will dominate the world in the end times. The beast is said to receive authority from the dragon, a symbol of Satan, and will wage war against the saints and all who refuse to worship it. In the context of modern events, some believe that this prophecy could be pointing to the decline of the United States and the rise of a new global power that will take its place. The absence of America in this prophecy, and others like it, has led many to speculate that the nation will either collapse or be absorbed into a larger, more powerful entity. This interpretation aligns with the idea that the United States, once the leader of the free world, may no longer play a significant role in the final events of history. The fear surrounding this prophecy is not just about the loss of American power, it's about the implications for the entire world. If America were to fall, it could trigger a cascade of events that would reshape global politics, economics, and even spirituality. The rise of a new world order, dominated by authoritarian regimes, could lead to widespread persecution, the loss of freedoms, and the fulfillment of the darkest aspects of biblical prophecy. But the prophecy also suggests that the fall of America is not inevitable. It speaks of conditions and events that could either hasten or delay this outcome. For example, the continued moral and spiritual decline of the nation is seen as a key factor that could accelerate its downfall. The Bible is clear that nations that turn away from God's commandments and embrace corruption are often punished by being humbled or destroyed. On the other hand, some believe that a return to spiritual and moral values could delay the fulfillment of this prophecy. If America were to experience a revival of faith and a recommitment to the principles that once made it strong, it might be granted a reprieve. This idea is rooted in the belief that God is merciful and willing to extend grace to those who seek it, even in the face of impending judgment. The prophecy also raises questions about America's relationship with Israel. According to biblical teachings, nations that support Israel are often blessed, while those that turn against it face dire consequences. In recent years, there's been growing concern that America's support for Israel may be waning, which could contribute to its decline. The prophecy suggests that America's fate is tied to its stance on Israel, and any shift in this relationship could have significant repercussions. As we examine these prophecies and their interpretations, it's clear why they have sparked so much fear and debate. The idea that America, a nation that has long been a symbol of strength and freedom, could be on the brink of collapse, is unsettling. But it's important to remember that prophecy is not just about predicting the future. It's also about providing guidance and warning. These prophecies serve as a reminder that the future is not set in stone. While they suggest that difficult times may be ahead, they also offer hope that through faith, repentance, and a return to spiritual values, America could alter its course. Whether or not one believes in the literal fulfillment of these prophecies, their message is clear. The choices we make today will shape the future, and the path we choose could determine the fate of the nation. Now, we will explore the signs that many believe indicate the prophecy is already beginning to manifest. We'll look at the current political and social climate in America and how it aligns with the predictions made in these ancient texts. By examining these signs, we can gain a deeper understanding of what may lie ahead and how we can prepare for the challenges to come. Signs of the prophecy manifesting. As we delve deeper into the prophecy that foretells the possible decline of America, it's crucial to examine the signs that many believe indicate this prophecy is already beginning to manifest. From the political turbulence to the moral and spiritual decay within the nation, these signs are seen as evidence that America may be on the brink of a significant and potentially catastrophic transformation. One of the most prominent signs that people point to is the increasing polarization within American society. Over the past decade, the United States has become deeply divided along political, racial, and ideological lines. This division is not just a matter of differing opinions. It has reached a level where civil discourse has almost completely broken down. The result is a nation that is fragmented and at odds with itself, a situation that many believe could lead to internal conflict or even civil unrest. This division is often seen as a reflection of a deeper moral and spiritual crisis. The values that once united the nation, such as respect for individual rights, a commitment to justice, and a belief in the sanctity of life, are increasingly being called into question. Instead, there is a growing acceptance of ideologies and practices that are in direct opposition to these values. For those who interpret prophecy, this moral decline is a clear sign that America is moving away from its foundational principles and towards a path of destruction. Another sign that is often cited is the decline of America's influence on the global stage. For decades, the United States was seen as the leader of the free world, a nation that set the standard for democracy, human rights, and economic prosperity. However, in recent years, this influence has waned. The rise of other global powers, such as China and Russia, has challenged America's dominance, and there is a growing perception that the United States is no longer the unchallenged superpower it once was. This decline in influence is not just economic or military, it's also cultural. American values and ideals, which were once admired and emulated around the world, are increasingly being rejected. Countries that once looked to the United States for leadership are now charting their own course, often in ways that are contrary to American interests. This shift in global power dynamics is seen by some as another sign that the prophecy is coming to pass, as it suggests that America's role in the world is diminishing. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump, as mentioned earlier, is also viewed by some as a significant sign. This event, though shocking, is seen as part of a larger pattern of chaos and instability that has been growing in the United States. The very fact that such an event could occur is indicative of the deep divisions and tensions within the country. For those who believe in the prophecy, this attempt on Trump's life is more than just a political incident. It's a harbinger of the turmoil and strife that could lead to America's downfall. In addition to these political and social signs, there are also economic indicators that suggest the prophecy may be unfolding. The United States is currently grappling with significant economic challenges, including rising inflation, increasing national debt, and a shrinking middle class. These issues have been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has further strained the nation's economy. The financial instability that America is facing is seen by some as a precursor to a larger economic collapse, one that could have devastating consequences, not just for the United States, but for the entire world. But perhaps the most concerning sign for many is the erosion of America's spiritual foundations. The United States was founded on principles that were heavily influenced by Christian values, and for much of its history, these values have played a central role in the nation's identity. However, in recent years, there has been a marked decline in religious observance and a growing secularization of society. This shift away from spiritual values is seen by many as a direct violation of the covenant that they believe America has with God, and it is feared that this could bring about divine judgment. The Bible is clear that nations that turn away from God and embrace sin are often judged harshly. The story of ancient Israel serves as a powerful example. When the Israelites turned away from God and began to worship idols, they were eventually conquered and exiled. Many believe that America could face a similar fate if it continues on its current path. The decline in religious observance, the embrace of secularism, and the acceptance of practices that are contrary to biblical teachings are all seen as signs that the prophecy is being fulfilled. Despite these concerning signs, there is still hope. The prophecy does not necessarily have to end in America's downfall. Many believe that if the nation were to turn back to God, repent for its sins, and renew its commitment to the values that once made it strong, it could delay or even prevent the fulfillment of this prophecy. This belief is rooted in the idea that God is merciful and willing to forgive those who seek His guidance and follow His commandments. As we move forward, we will explore the role of the United States in the broader context of end-time prophecies. We'll examine how the nation's current trajectory fits within the framework of biblical predictions and what this could mean for the future. By understanding the signs that are unfolding around us, we can better prepare for the challenges that may lie ahead and take steps to ensure that America's story does not end in tragedy. The New Jerusalem? As we continue to explore the prophecy that many fear is beginning to unfold, it's essential to consider the role that the United States might play in the end times, as described in biblical prophecy. While the Bible doesn't explicitly mention America by name, many scholars and believers have attempted to interpret the scriptures in ways that could apply to the modern world, including the United States. These interpretations often focus on the country's potential influence, or lack thereof, during the final events leading up to the end times. One of the most intriguing aspects of biblical prophecy is the apparent absence of a clear reference to the United States in the apocalyptic visions found in books like Daniel, Ezekiel, and Revelation. This omission has led to much speculation about what might happen to America in the future. Could it be that the United States, despite its current power and influence, will not play a significant role in the end times? Or does its absence from the prophetic texts suggest a dramatic decline in its global status? In the book of Daniel, for instance, we read about the rise and fall of great empires symbolized by various beasts and statues. These visions are traditionally interpreted as representing historical empires like Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Some scholars suggest that the final beast, a terrifying creature with iron teeth and 10 horns, could symbolize a future coalition of nations or a revived Roman Empire that will dominate the world in the last days. If this is the case, it raises the question: where does the United States fit into this picture? One possibility is that the United States, like the empires before it, may experience a significant decline that diminishes its role on the world stage. This decline could be economic, political, or even military in nature. As we've discussed in previous, there are already signs that America's global influence is waning. The growing power of other nations, particularly in Asia and the Middle East, could signal a shift in the global balance of power, making way for the rise of a new world order that aligns more closely with the prophecies of the Bible. The concept of a new world order is central to many interpretations of end times prophecy. Revelation 13 speaks of a beast that rises out of the sea, representing a powerful, oppressive regime that will control the world during the end times. This beast is often associated with the Antichrist, a figure who will deceive the nations and lead them into rebellion against God. According to some interpretations, this new world order could be a coalition of 10 kingdoms or nations that will cede their sovereignty to the Antichrist, forming a global government that exercises total control over the world's population. Given the current state of international affairs, it's not hard to imagine how such a scenario could unfold. The increasing centralization of power, the erosion of national sovereignty, and the rise of globalist ideologies all point toward the possibility of a future where individual nations, including the United States, are subsumed into a larger, more powerful entity. In this context, America's absence from the prophetic texts could indicate that it will either be part of this New World Order or that it will no longer exist as a significant independent power by the time these events take place. Another possible interpretation is that the United States could be one of the 10 kingdoms mentioned in Revelation 17. This chapter describes a vision of a woman sitting on a scarlet beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. The 10 horns are identified as 10 kings who will receive power for a short time and will give their authority to the beast. Some believe that these 10 kings represent a group of nations or leaders who will unite under the Antichrist's rule in the end times. If the United States is indeed one of these 10 kingdoms, it could mean that the nation will play a role in supporting the Antichrist's rise to power. This interpretation is deeply troubling for those who see America as a bastion of freedom and righteousness. The idea that the United States could turn against its founding principles and become complicit in the rise of evil is a stark warning about the dangers of moral and spiritual decline. On the other hand, some believe that the United States might be among the nations that resist the Antichrist's rule, even if it means facing persecution or destruction. This interpretation is more hopeful, suggesting that there will still be a remnant of believers in America who will stand firm in their faith, despite the pressures of a corrupt world. However, the absence of a direct reference to America in the Bible leaves this question open to interpretation. It's also possible that America's role in the end times could be more symbolic than literal. In this view, the United States might represent the values and principles that will be under attack during the final days. The spiritual battle between good and evil, light and darkness, could be reflected in the struggles faced by America as it grapples with its identity and place in the world. Whether the nation rises to the challenge or succumbs to the forces of darkness remains to be seen. Next, we'll explore the prophecy of the 10 kingdoms in greater detail, examining how it might apply to the current global situation and what it could mean for the future of America. We'll also discuss the potential for a revived Roman Empire and how this concept fits into the broader narrative of end-times prophecy. By understanding these prophecies, we can gain a clearer picture of what might be in store for the United States and the world as we move closer to the fulfillment of these ancient predictions. What should we do when that moment arrives? As we near the conclusion of this exploration into the prophecy that has captivated and concerned so many, it's crucial to consider the factors that could either hasten or postpone its fulfillment. The idea that the United States could face a dramatic decline as part of a larger divine plan is both sobering and alarming, but the future is not set in stone. There are specific conditions and actions that could influence the timing, or even the occurrence, of this prophecy's fulfillment. One of the most significant factors that could speed up the fulfillment of the prophecy is the continued moral and spiritual decline within the United States. Historically, nations that have turned away from foundational moral principles, especially those grounded in religious faith, have faced severe consequences. The Bible is replete with examples of such nations, where internal decay led to external collapse. In the United States, this moral decline is often exemplified by the increasing secularization of society, the erosion of traditional family values, and the growing acceptance of behaviors and policies that many believe are contrary to biblical teachings. The removal of religious symbols from public spaces, the legal battles over issues like abortion and same-sex marriage, and the decline in church attendance are all seen as indicators of a nation turning away from its spiritual roots. If this trend continues, it could be viewed as a direct affront to the principles that many believe the United States was founded upon. This moral and spiritual decay could be the catalyst that accelerates the nation's downfall, as predicted by the prophecy. The idea is that a nation that abandons its covenant with God cannot expect to maintain His favor or protection, leading to a rapid unraveling of its social and political fabric. Political and economic instability are also critical factors that could hasten the prophecy's realization. The United States is currently grappling with significant internal challenges, including extreme political polarization, rising national debt, and economic inequalities. These issues have been exacerbated by recent events, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, which has strained the nation's economy and exposed deep flaws in its social safety net. Should these issues continue to worsen, they could lead to a weakening of America's global standing and influence. The prophecy suggests that a nation weakened from within is more vulnerable to external threats and less capable of playing a dominant role in global affairs. Economic collapse, in particular, could trigger a domino effect that disrupts not just the United States, but the entire world economy, fulfilling the prophecy of a great power's fall. Furthermore, the increasing division within American politics, where compromise seems almost impossible, could lead to governmental paralysis or even conflict. The inability of the political system to address critical issues effectively could erode public trust and lead to widespread unrest, further accelerating the nation's decline. Another factor that could influence the timing of the prophecy's fulfillment is America's relationship with other nations, particularly Israel. According to biblical prophecy, nations that support Israel are often blessed, while those that turn against it face severe consequences. The United States has historically been one of Israel's strongest allies, but any shift in this relationship could have profound implications. If the United States were to withdraw its support for Israel or adopt policies that are perceived as hostile, it could hasten the prophecy's fulfillment by inviting divine judgment. Conversely, a reaffirmation of its alliance with Israel and a commitment to supporting its security could delay the prophecy, as it would align the United States with what many believe to be God's will. In addition to its relationship with Israel, the United States' broader foreign policy could also play a role. Efforts to maintain and strengthen international alliances, particularly with other democratic nations, could bolster America's position and delay the prophecy. However, increasing isolationism or a breakdown in international cooperation could leave the United States vulnerable to the geopolitical shifts predicted by the prophecy. On the flip side, one of the most hopeful possibilities for delaying the prophecy is the potential for a spiritual revival within the United States. History has shown that times of crisis often lead to religious awakenings, where people turn back to faith in search of meaning and guidance. A widespread return to religious and moral values could be seen as a form of national repentance, which might delay or even prevent the prophecy's fulfillment. Such a revival would involve a recommitment to the principles that many believe the nation was originally founded upon. Principles such as justice, compassion, and reverence for God. It could lead to a renewal of public institutions, a re-strengthening of the family unit, and a rejection of the moral relativism that has become prevalent in modern society. If enough people were to embrace this revival, it could create a groundswell of change that impacts not only individual lives, but also the direction of the nation as a whole. This return to spiritual values could invoke divine mercy, granting the United States more time to address its challenges, and potentially altering the course of history. As we conclude this exploration of the prophecy that looms over America's future, it's clear that the nation stands at a critical crossroads. The signs we've discussed, the moral and spiritual decline, the political and economic instability, the shifting international dynamics, suggest that the United States may be approaching a pivotal moment in its history. Whether this moment leads to decline or renewal is still uncertain, and it largely depends on the choices we make as a society. The prophecy we've explored is not just a prediction of doom, it's a call to action. It's a reminder that the future is shaped by our actions, our values, and our willingness to stand up for what is right. If the prophecy is to be delayed or even averted, it will require a collective effort to return to the principles that once made America a beacon of hope and freedom for the world. This means embracing moral integrity, fostering unity, and seeking spiritual renewal. But this is not a journey we can undertake alone. It requires each of us to reflect on our own lives and the role we play in the larger story of our nation. Are we contributing to the division, or are we working towards healing? Are we standing up for truth and justice, or are we remaining silent in the face of moral decay? These are questions we must ask ourselves as we consider the path forward. Now more than ever, it is crucial to stay informed and engaged. The challenges facing America are complex and multifaceted, and they require thoughtful and informed responses. By understanding the potential implications of the prophecy, we can better prepare for what may come and take steps to ensure that we are on the right side of history. As we close this discussion, I urge you to stay vigilant and proactive. Continue to seek out knowledge, engage in meaningful dialogue, And most importantly, hold fast to the values that have sustained this nation through difficult times. The future is uncertain, but it is not without hope. Together, we can navigate the challenges ahead and work towards a future that honors the best of what America can be. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on these critical issues. Thank you for watching, and may we all find the wisdom and courage to face the future with faith and determination.